Hi, I'm Lauren. I have a very short attention span. I still don't know what to do with my life. I've always wanted to go into extreme body modification, really. Ever since, I think it was. I was always interested in tattoos and piercings and everything. I think as a kid, when you plan things out in your head, you're like, right, I want this tattoo. And, like in the 90s, the bands around the arm were like the little Celtic pattern, and the little there was another Celtic pattern actually looked like a sun around the belly button, which I think Anastasia had at the time. I think that was a really cool one. When you're a kid, you plan out all these tattoos and everything that you have. Obviously, nothing like stays unless you actually have it. So my bands around the arm and everything changed. So I've got a limb of each theme, I guess. Yeah, that's what I'm aiming for. And hopefully it'll just be a complete body piece at some point. As a child, I think it was just a rebellious stage where I think my mum was like, oh, you can't get your tongue pierced, and I was like, watch me then, like, just because you say I can't doesn't mean I can't actually. So I went and had my tongue pierced, and yeah, I think ever since then, just being in that room was like, wow, I would really love to do piercings, and it's just something, like just stabbing people generally, which was pretty cool. It was a nice idea. And I saw my mother get her belly pierced, and I was like, yeah, I could do this, like, this is pretty awesome. Later on in life, going through uni and everything, I did game design in as a degree, so it was called game art at the time. Legitimately, I don't think it was an actual degree, but that's okay, I've got the piece of paper. I didn't just make it up, there was other people on the course as well. My degree is in game design, which I'm still not in, as you could tell, so I think I've just scrapped all that idea. I like to do my designs in my own time. I think I'm more of an environmental artist, more than anything. As a part-time job then, although still in retail, I was a body piercer. There was this store that had clothes in there, and as well as a piercing store, which I really enjoyed, to be honest. I think obviously a job is a job and it does get stressful at times, but it's never a dull day. I think I just got bored of the repetition of the piercings that I was allowed to do, and I suppose the zone in that store you're only allowed to do, because it's a franchise, you can't quite independently go out and do those piercings, and you couldn't take pictures of them either to build up your own portfolio because you were working for another store, not independently. And I think I was just frustrated by that because nothing was a challenge anymore, and I constantly need to challenge myself and to better myself to still be interested in something that I want to do and to carry on doing. So after piercing then, and that's when I ended up moving house, so I'm back in the clothing side of retail. I still want to do piercing, but I want to do extreme body modification as more of a challenge to myself. Any scarification, branding, I've always, like tongue splitting, like I have always been so interested in things like that, and I think that ideally, I think that's got enough surgical aspects of it that will keep me interested, and there's always a challenge in, obviously, everyone's body is different. I think you're always going to get that challenge of what that human form is capable of, and what they can and cannot have. And ideally, I think that's definitely my aim. My aim in life is to carry on being an extreme body modification artist. You've got that creative aspect in there, and it's just everything that I really enjoy doing and that I've always been interested in. There was a time during university, actually, I'm one of those people where I just cannot sit down in an exam after revising for weeks and weeks. I know, like, everyone has to do that. You have to go through school and do your GCSEs, and then A-levels, and AS, A-levels, etc. But I think it was during A-level that I was like, I really cannot do this. Just sit down, read paragraph. I think my mind just isn't capable of storing information that really doesn't interest me just to pass the exam. And I feel like school's just a memory test, really. My memory isn't that great, and I think especially when I go into an exam and you'd have this complete blank where you're so nervous, you walk into that room knowing that you're going to sit down on papers, constantly wondering what questions you're going to have, knowing you've read it but not knowing whether you've actually remembered the answers or not. I think that's the most frustrating for me, especially walking into an exam just forgetting everything. That was like the worst. So I just lost so much sleep as well, like constant nightmares of just running to get to the exam but always being late, and I think that was just really frustrating at the time. I just never slept. So yeah, extreme body modification, suspension, just anything like that. So what's happening is London Tattoo Convention. Hopefully I'll just find some people, gain some more information and see if there's any body mod artists there, and just trying to gain a perspective on a one-to-one basis, because I find emailing is quite hard for me. Obviously because I speak as I do, and sometimes I'm not sure whether that comes out a bit blunt when I'm writing it down. It depends on the person receiving that and how they get that, but obviously yeah, it's just really hard to read me, if that makes sense. But yeah, I write how I speak, which doesn't always fit in well with how others read. Maybe it's the punctuation, who knows. So yeah, I think that is definitely what I want to do. I do have a lot of interests as well. I think I've always just been chasing money. I've always been taught to, you have to have money, and no matter what, I think you're always going to need money to be self-dependent and everything, which I completely agree with. I've come to the decision that money isn't everything. You know, I'd rather be happier in a job than at the moment dread every day going into work just for the shit money that I earn. I'd much rather be enjoying what I do rather than going and hating what I do. I think just life's too short. I know that's really cliche. I just don't want to be in my 50s and just regret everything, or regret not taking up the chance when I was able to, and not taking up, you know, the what I wanted to do. So if I've got friends who are models, and you know, they've done their photo shoots are absolutely incredible, and I think future me would wish that I had done that now. I think being in front of the camera, not so much like I'm talking now because I'm just a goofy kid, like, but I think the poses, I would just take the piss out of myself, and I don't think people would pick up on that. I don't know. Who knows? So yeah, don't regret. Carry on doing what you want to do, no matter what. Things will always plan and fall into perspective eventually. There was a point where I was travelling, and I went travelling with two friends. Unfortunately, I wasn't in very good headspace at the time, so I cut my journey short. There were a lot of people that I met in Australia who had moved from New Zealand. Basically because the cost of living in New Zealand is ridiculously expensive. New Zealand is such a beautiful country. It is absolutely incredible, and I cannot wait to explore the rest of the world. I think New Zealand for me was definitely my favourite out. Well, you can't really compare Australia and New Zealand, like they're completely different countries, but there was a lot of Kiwis in Australia, and there were rivers, obviously going kayaking, or I think it was whitewater river rafting we were doing at the time, where they enjoyed their job, so that's why they moved from the country. But they rather do something that they enjoy rather than being, no offence to those, sat in an office and having the money rather than just being complained at. Like, I definitely couldn't do a job sat in the office. So I applaud you all for all that you are, for all of you who are doing that. So well done. Yeah, congratulations, because I'm just crying at the thought of having people screaming in my ear at the moment. So yeah, don't just chase money. Just do what you enjoy, and eventually things will fall and plan out how they should. And I think everyone's life has a certain path that it's going to go. Obviously, decision making is down to you and what decisions you make. But I think you've always had this like life length journey that is just planned out for you anyway, and you've just got to keep going with the flow. There's no need to stress. There's always ups and downs. I think you know, no matter how much someone makes their life look so cushy and perfect, I think no one's life is perfect. They definitely have their own struggles as well. I don't think anyone's completely happy. It's hard not to. You can't compare anyone to yourself. Everyone's in a completely different position. You just have to be yourself and not compare. I think that's how you lead a happier life, I guess. Which is very hard, because obviously there's so many people in the world. There's so many other people who will have the opportunities that you want, but you may not have. Don't let that put you down. I think you just gotta keep going with the flow. Just aim for what you do best, and just aim for what you want, really. And I think I'm gonna leave you on that note. So, yay!